There was a time when hydrogen was presented as the future of fuel for our cars. These vehicles promised things like longer driving distances, faster refueling, and eco-friendly energy. George W. Bush, remember him, liked hydrogen fuel cells so much that he offered $1.3 billion in funding to get these cars on the road. This all sounds fantastic. So why aren't we all scooting around on our own hydrogen horseless carriages? The technology had plenty of pretty dope features that appealed to consumers, but nobody really seems to talk about these cars anymore. Why did the hydrogen vehicle lose its traction after all the hype that was surrounding it? Is it actually better for the environment than gasoline? And who, or what, killed the hydrogen car? Big thanks to Cove for sponsoring today's video. This is the Cove Split Speaker! Sorry, that's loud, really loud. We use the Cove Split speaker for over a year now. It's water resistant, has built-in microphones, and got a 30-foot range. This thing's got 7 hours of playtime, making it perfect for when you're on the go, working in the garage, or just want to break from those uncomfortable headphones. The Cove Split speaker creates a full 360-degree surround sound effect, but what really makes it different is this.
Oh my God!
Now that 360-degree effect is an optimal left and right stereo sound. And with Cove giving you a massive 67% off or more, this puppy is one of the most unique and affordable speakers I've ever seen, so hurry up! Visit coveaudio.com/donut68 and use code donut68 to get your discount today. Now let's get back to Wheelhouse. Seriously, these things are sick. In 1966, we got things like the Porsche 911S, the Lamborghini Miura, and the Pontiac GTO. But what never made it into the spotlight that year was the world's first hydrogen fuel cell car. Hydrogen vehicles have been around for quite some time, but have recently been advertised as the future for passenger vehicles and civilian transportation. Hydrogen fuel cells run off of pressurized hydrogen that has a refill time equivalent to a gas-fueled vehicle and brags about things like zero emissions with literal water coming out of the exhaust. This sounds great, especially compared to electric vehicles, which can sometimes take around an hour to charge at a station. Hydrogen seems great in theory, so what happened? Well, there are a few reasons why hydrogen cars lost traction and publicity. It all boils down to 5 factors: price, convenience, performance, the environment, and competition. Buying a car is one of the biggest financial investments someone can make next to a house, and the biggest determining factor when it comes to buying a vehicle is inevitably the price. There are 3 hydrogen fuel cell vehicles available on the market right now: the Toyota Mirai, the Hyundai Nexo, and the Honda Clarity. The 2021 Toyota Mirai is the cheapest of the bunch, starting at $50,000. But if you play your cards right, with the right incentives and financing, you can pick a brand new one for just shy of 18 grand. Pretty big bargain. The sticker price seems to be a really good deal, but how much does it cost to refuel? The average price for hydrogen fuel is about $16.50 per kilogram. Yes, kilogram. Hydrogen is measured by weight, much different to how gasoline is measured, which is by volume. Each hydrogen fuel cell vehicle holds about 5 to 6 kilograms of hydrogen, traveling up to 400 miles on one fill-up. So even though 6 kilograms of hydrogen can make a car move up to 400 miles, the cost of a tank is over $80, which is pretty pricey considering the more cost-effective alternatives like hybrids, but we'll get to that in a second. There are only 45 hydrogen refueling stations in the United States, and similar to how buyers are afraid of hydrogen because of the price tag, companies are afraid of hydrogen for the same reason. The cost to construct just one refueling station can amount to around $2 million, which is way more than your average gas station or electric charging station. To make matters worse, most stations just have one pump. With such a small customer base, it's hard for companies to commit such large sums of money towards hydrogen stations with no promise of return on investment. Makes sense. There is some good news though for hydrogen car owners, and that comes through a little ray of sunshine called manufacturer fuel incentives. Companies like Toyota understand that hydrogen, for the time being, is pretty expensive and hope to lure in customers by offering buyers $15,000 credit towards fuel costs. Now, I think that's sick as hell. Thank you, Toyota, very much. This fuel credit is a nice benefit to anyone buying a hydrogen car, but the catch is that you need to spend that $15,000 on fuel within the first 3 years of owning a car. Once that runs out, customers have to pay the high hydrogen prices with a very limited selection of refueling stations. There is one more glimmer of hope though for hydrogen car believers: California government subsidies. These subsidies offer millions of dollars towards the construction of hydrogen fueling stations and seek to have over 100 stations in place by 2025. This is still significantly less than the tens of thousands of gas stations and EV charging stations that scatter the US, so only time will tell if hydrogen stations become a prevalent form of refueling. But it's a step in the right direction. For now, with the average fuel tank north of $80 and the exorbitant construction costs for refueling stations, things aren't looking very promising for hydrogen cars. The hydrogen fuel cell market relies on subsidies and incentives to stay afloat and keep costs down. But even with help from the government and manufacturers, consumers just aren't interested in hydrogen cars as much as gas or electric. Why is this? Well, let's talk about convenience or the lack thereof. We talked earlier about how there are only 45 hydrogen refueling stations in the US, mostly in California. For some perspective, there are 16 Red Lobster seafood restaurants for every one hydrogen refueling station in America. That's a 16-to-1 crustacean station ratio. With only 45 stations across the US, hydrogen car buyers are forced to conduct their daily lives within the vicinity of these stations. So if you live outside of some large cities in California, you might have some trouble driving anywhere. The painful lack of convenience from the shy number of stations is very dissuading to consumers. But the good news is you can leave LA and go on that boys' trip to Vegas, but if you take your new hydrogen car, you might end up stranded there. I guess with a hydrogen vehicle, whatever happens in Vegas literally stays in Vegas. Infrastructure offers convenience, and without the adequate infrastructure, hydrogen cars are a huge hassle. So to visit my parents up in Atascadero, what I would have to do, I've thought about this, I would have to leave LA, stop in Santa Barbara to top off, get to my parents, and then limit my driving at all while I'm up there, and then refuel as I'm coming back down to Santa Barbara, which would be kind of dicey. I would not feel great about that. So does the hydrogen car offer anything that can make up for the severe lack of convenience? Let's talk about what we really care about here at Donut, all right? Performance. Sure, hydrogen cars are expensive and a pain to refuel, but if they're faster and more fun to drive, then maybe they might be worthy of consideration, right? Well, maybe, but that doesn't matter because most commercial vehicles are far from performance vehicles. The 2021 Toyota Mirai goes from 0 to 60 in 9.1 seconds and reaches a blazing top speed of 106 miles per hour. It's not awful, but compare this to something like the Tesla Model 3, which goes 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds. It's a bit of a different story. So is there a hydrogen car that can compete with established performance cars? The answer is yes. Take a look at the hydrogen-powered Hyperion XP1, which boasts a range of 1,000 miles, 1,000 horsepower, and claims to go from 0 to 60 in 2.2 seconds, reaching a top speed of 220. And even better, the car looks like the illegitimate child of a Tron bike and a Bugatti Chiron. This thing is super impressive, and I want one, so where could I buy one? Well, unfortunately for customers, the car is not available for purchase yet. And when it is, it's safe to say that the price will be extremely high. You're definitely not going to want to hit the drag strip in your Toyota Mirai anytime soon, but clearly hydrogen technology is capable of creating speed. It's just much more expensive and requires more fuel cell stacks in order to reach speeds comparable to a regular sports car. Hydrogen cars are marketed as green, easy, energy-efficient vehicles, much like the Toyota Prius. This makes sense after all. They are hydrogen powered, so unfortunately most manufacturers aren't building these things to be speed demons. But who knows, no car is truly off limits for a dedicated tuner, so maybe we'll see a few Mirais at the strip sometime soon. If companies are going to market hydrogen cars as green, you'd assume they're great for the environment, but I'm not so sure they're as green as people say they are. Why is this? Hydrogen cars are heralded as zero-emission angels, spitting out water rather than pollutants. How does the car produce only water? Look, I spent a lot of time in college playing Rocket League and watching movies, so I don't feel very qualified to explain this. Here's Jerry.
Compressed hydrogen runs down a pipe to a positive terminal in the fuel cell. Then oxygen from the air runs down a second pipe to the negative terminal. The positive terminal, it's made up of platinum, which acts as a catalyst that helps speed up the chemical reaction. When hydrogen atoms reach the catalyst, they split up into hydrogen ions, which are protons and electrons. And hydrogen ions, they are just hydrogen atoms without the electrons. Since hydrogen only has one proton and one electron, a hydrogen ion is literally just a proton. The positively charged protons are attracted to the negative terminal and peel off, running through the electrolyte. Only protons have the ability to pass through the electrolyte since it's a special polymer. The free electrons, now free of their protons, they flow through the outer circuit towards the motor. As they do so, they power the electric motor, which drives the car's wheels, eventually arriving at the negative terminal. And at that negative terminal, the protons and electrons recombine with oxygen from the air in a chemical reaction creating H2O, or what I like to call water. This is the water that comes right out of the exhaust. You could drink that water if you wanted, but I wouldn't.
So it's safe to assume that these cars are good for the environment, right? I mean, all they use is hydrogen for fuel, and it's shooting out water. So are hydrogen cars actually better for the environment than gas cars? Well, let's look at how hydrogen is produced. Hydrogen does not exist in a pure state and must be separated from other molecules in a process called electrolysis. This process uses a lot of power. In order for a hydrogen fuel cell to work, it uses electricity to create hydrogen at the production plant, and then turns that hydrogen back into electricity to power the vehicle's motors. This is called the energy vector transition. Let's take 100 watts of energy. To create hydrogen, we must pass it through water via electrolysis. This is only 75% energy efficient. Now the hydrogen must be compressed, chilled, and transported to the station. Once it's pumped into the car, it must be turned back into electricity. This is only 60% efficient. The energy then must power the motor, but this is only 95% efficient because it gives off energy such as heat. Put this all together, and only 38 of our 100 watts are actually used to run the car. So fuel cells are only 38% efficient. That's not great, but it could be worse. How does it compare to gas and electric cars? Combustion engines are notoriously inefficient, letting off enough heat that leaves them with only about 25 to 35% efficient. So hydrogen is decently better than gasoline-powered cars. But what about electric vehicles? Since electric vehicles use the electricity directly without having to convert it into anything, they make about 80% efficiency. This is twice as efficient as a fuel cell vehicle, making hydrogen cars inefficient when compared to their electric cousins. So what does this mean for our environment? Well, hydrogen cars are about half as efficient as an electric vehicle, meaning they require twice as much energy to power. This energy is taken from things like fossil fuels, nuclear power plants, and windmills. No car is completely green, but hydrogen is a surprisingly worse alternative than EV vehicles, but still more efficient than gas-powered cars. It's a weird middle ground. If hydrogen is to succeed, it needs a lot more research, money, and government legislation thrown at it, and it will take years to produce adequate infrastructure for these vehicles. If all this happens, hydrogen cars may have a chance at securing a spot in the automotive industry, but for now, something else is stealing all hydrogen's hype and funding, reducing the chances at a hydrogen future. What is this? Well, I actually already told you. If anything can be blamed for the death of the hydrogen vehicle, it's the EV. Companies like Tesla came onto the scene at the same time hydrogen fuel cells had some interest, but with the success of the electric vehicle came disinterest in hydrogen. The market leaned towards electric cars, and lithium battery technology began to advance quickly beyond hydrogen vehicles. EVs took the spotlight, and tons of money and research went into developing and perfecting lithium batteries. Hydrogen, on the other hand, was left in the dust. It's kind of like when the Dreamcast came out and it was super mind-blowing with its crazy graphics, but then the PS2 and Xbox came out like a year later with even better graphics. There simply just wasn't enough room for hydrogen fuel cells to succeed. Hydrogen cars tried to fix a problem that, to be honest, didn't really need to be solved. And it didn't even succeed at fixing the problem in the first place. Hydrogen cars can run exceptionally long distance on hydrogen, but factors like price, performance, and convenience put the nail in the coffin for hydrogen fuel cell cars. Now, you might be thinking, hey, the technology is super impressive, so if it's not going to work for commercial vehicles, where can we apply it? Well, surprisingly enough, hydrogen fuel cells are being used for many other things today outside of cars. Many warehouses, such as Amazon, use hydrogen-powered forklifts to move their inventory around, very smart when you're indoors. Companies are looking to make heaters, buses, and even power sources for cities, and hydrogen presents itself as a great option for auxiliary power in rural areas. NASA uses hydrogen fuel cells on their space shuttles as a source of electricity, and many manufacturers are looking to create hydrogen-powered semi-trucks. There is a use for it, it's just that the car space already found a good solution. Hydrogen cars were supposed to be the future, but they weren't, and it makes sense why. Maybe one day, despite all the current barriers, some technological breakthrough will occur and hydrogen cars will rule the road. But for now though, hydrogen cars remain an expensive dumpster fire with a somewhat bleak future, and gas and electric cars will continue to steal the hearts of consumers. Just make that Mirai do 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds, and we're good.
Hey guys, what's up? I got some big news and it's right here on my head. Introducing the first official donut beanie, only available at donutmedia.com. It comes in 2 awesome colors, vibrant orange for those who want to stand out during the day, and navy blue for those who want to blend in at the night. And the best thing about a beanie, no matter who you are, it can help highlight your personality. Whether you're intimidating at first, but once you get to know you, you're a really nice person. Or if you're someone who always has that band that your friends never heard of and you're shocked and you make them listen to them right away. Just like sort of an old poetic soul kind of type. An actor slash writer slash director slash musician. I own an acoustic guitar. The donut beanie is the perfect hat for any occasion or any type of person. Get yours at donutmedia.com today.
Hey, thanks for watching Wheelhouse. Pretty interesting stuff if you ask me. I think there's a future for hydrogen, just not necessarily in passenger cars, but that's okay. If you saw that other handsome guy in this video and you want to check out more of Jeremiah's stuff, I'll leave a bumper to bumper right here. We mentioned the Prius a little bit, and hey, if you're feeling nostalgic, there's a up to speed on Prius right here. Follow Donut on all social media at Donut Media. Follow me at Nolan J. Sykes. Be kind, take care of each other. See you later.